What are these sounds? And let's add them to Minecraft. New topics added to the Forge and Fabric courses, such as tameable and writable entities, projectiles, throwable projectiles, and boats, as well as first steps to biomes and dimensions. Courses linked in the description below. Alright, we found stuff back in the channel more, and in this tutorial, we're going to be adding custom sounds to Minecraft. This is going to be, number one, a custom sound played when we right-click with the metal detector, as well as a custom sound type that basically replaces the sounds for a block. So there's going to be a breaking, stepping, falling, placing, and hitting sound as well. For this, first and foremost, in the tutorial mod package, we're going to make a new package called sound, and inside of there, we'll make a new Java class called the mod sounds class. Now this will once again have a public static final deferred register of type sound event called sound underscore events equal to deferred register.create forge registries dot sound events comma tutorial mod.mod id, and of course a public static void register method with an event bus called event bus over here, calling sound events dot register, passing in the event bus. And as always, of course, all of the code as well as the sounds are downloadable in the description below, so no worries at all. And then in our tutorial mod class, we want to call mod sounds dot register, passing in the event bus right here. And there we go. Now to make a sound, we first of all want to do a public static final registry object of type sound event. And it's going to be, let's say, the metal underscore detector underscore found underscore or. And this is actually equal to register sound events, which is a method that doesn't exist yet. And this is going to take in a metal detector underscore found underscore or. So that's going to be the name. And what we can do is we can just create that method. So hover over this and create that method. And you can see it already suggests basically what we need to do. Now this is going to be the name. And then this is going to return the following. It's going to return sound events.register, passing in the name. And then a supplier of a sound event.create variable range event with a new resource location, of course, tutorial mod.mod id, and then passing in the name again. And this is a helper method that is going to help us register the sounds over here, which is pretty awesome. So this is the metal detector found. That's pretty cool. We can duplicate this once over here, and we can change this to then be the sound block break. And then here as well, sound underscore block underscore break. And then duplicate this 4 more times. It's going to be the step sound, and then we have the fall sound, and we have the place sound, and lastly we have the hit sound. And very important that we also change this in the method over here and make sure to write everything correctly. Otherwise, there might be issues coming up. So do change both the name of the variable as well as the name right here of the string that is passed in. And once we have the sounds over here for the block, we also need to have a sound group or a sound type. This is going to be a public static final forge sound type. We're going to call this the sound block sounds. This is going to be equal to a new forge sound type 1F1F. So that's just going to be the volume and the pitch. And then you can see that basically we now have to add all of the different sounds over here. The first one is the break sound. Then we get the step sound. Then we get the place sound. Then we get the mod sounds dot hit sound. And lastly, we get mod sounds dot fall. There you go. And you can also double check this if you middle mouse button click on here, you can see this is the break sound, step sound, place sound. And if we go over here, hit and fall sound. There you go. So that should be pretty much everything that we're going to need. Now, we're not done quite just yet because, of course, we have not yet added these sounds. Now, the sounds are added in the assets folder tutorial mod. And in there, we want to make a new directory called sounds. Very important. And I shall be copying over the files. These are, as I've already said, available to you in the description below for download. Now, what's very important here is that they have to be OGG files. You can't just take an MP3 file and rename it to like .ogg. That does not work. You have to properly convert it. And once you've done this, also make sure that all of your sounds are in mono. If they're in stereo, then you will be able to hear the sound in the entire world, which is usually not what you want. So they need to be proper OGGs in mono. But that is still not everything, because now, and this is a very, very strange thing, but this needs to be basically added, is in the assets tutorial mod folder, or whatever your mod ID is. Inside of there, we want to now create a new file, and this is going to be the sounds.json. So this has to be resources assets tutorial mod or your mod ID, and then the sounds.json. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. And inside of it, it's going to look kind of like this. So for example, the first one is the metal detector underscore found underscore or, right? And that is, of course, this name right here. So this name right here has to match this name right here. That's awesome. Then we can do subtitles over here. Those are, for example, sounds.tutorialmod.metal_detector_found_or. And then we define sounds over here. This is going to be a list denoted by these brackets over here. And this is then going to be tutorial mod : metal detector found or. Now, what does all of this craziness mean? Well, this is the sound event that we've defined, right? Metal detector found or, that it has to match this name right here. Fair enough. Then we have a subtitle, which we can add into the lang, right? So we can add this to a lang folder right here. And we can, for example, say the metal detector jingle or something like that, right? So basically that this is going to be displayed when the sound plays and subtitles are turned on. That's should be fairly self-explanatory in this case. Now, the sound right here, in this case, we only have one. You can add multiple ones, right? So you can just do a comma and add multiple ones, and then a random one will be picked. In this case, we have one over here, and that refers to, of course, tutorial mod. So the tutorial mod folder, sounds, and then the metal_detector_found_or.ogg. So this file right here will be played when this particular sound event is played. That is the idea. And to save on a little bit of time, I will be copying over the rest. As I've already said, the JSON file over here, the contents here are all available to you in the description below. So you can basically just take a look at that. But overall, it is all the same thing. So the name right here just matches the name right here, right? So sound block break, for example, sound block break. And then here, sound block break matches the name of the OGG file. In this case, they also share the same name, but they don't necessarily have, because this is the sound event, while this is the sound file. And with that, we've added everything. However, of course, we still need to add the type to our block, as well as call the metal detector found or over here. So let's start with the metal detector. This is going to be in the metal detector item right here. And inside of here, we're going to call the pcontext.getLevel. And then we're going to play a seeded sound. We're going to play this for no player, because when you actually pass in the player, that player will be ignored. That's very important. So you actually don't want to pass in the player. Then we want to say position_clicked.getX, position_clicked.getY, and position_clicked.getZ or Z. And then we have mod sounds.metal_detector_found.get. This is going to be sound source of blocks. And then then we get a 1, and a 0 here for the seed. So you can see you can also change the volume and the pitch over here. And there we go. And that actually is everything that we need to basically play this particular sound at that particular position. For the block, it's almost easier. So in the modblocks class, let's do this for the sound block. We can just call the .sound method right here, and then just say mod sounds.soundBlockSounds. This is the sound type. And there you go. Now this is going to take in the sound types that we've defined right here. So with that, everything is done. So let's jump into the game and hear if it works. All right, friends, we're back in Minecraft, and let's first of all try the metal detector. And you can hear that when I find something, it's going to play a sound absolutely freaking fantastic. And if I take the sound block over here and I set it down, we can hear. Let's actually turn this up just the tiniest bit. That's definitely a different sound. If I break it, you can see that's a different sound. And if I switch to survival mode and I start breaking it, you can hear that's the hitting sound and then the walking sound. There we figure it out. The falling sound, if I recall correctly, is when you fall from a higher height. However, it is usually covered up by the sound when you're hurting. So sometimes the fall sound is a little weird. But there you go. Those are going to be custom sounds added to Minecraft. And that's already it for this tutorial right here. But in this video, we'll also talk about music discs, which is going to be very interesting indeed. Hope to see you there. So, yeah.